Few video game characters we know are as enigmatic as Kirby. This round, morphing, flying, multicolored puffball of joy is one of the most unique protagonists players have had the opportunity to control since his debut on the Game Boy. With such a bizarre character inhabiting such a bizarre world, there unavoidably have been a lot of conspiracy theories that have sprouted regarding the Kirby series over the years. Out of these theories, which ones hold the most water and which ones suck harder than Kirby's mouth? I'm Kifinosi with One Up Binge, and this is Kirby Theories, ranked bullshit to truth bombs. As usual, we're sticking to the games themselves for this list. Any outside conspiracy theories for media such as Kirby Right Back At Ya will be overlooked, unless they tie directly back into the games themselves. With that said, let's get the theories out of the way that have been debunked. These theories either have so many holes that they can't possibly be true, they lack evidence, or they've been confirmed false by creators. These theories are bullshit. Kirby is actually the villain. Kirby is often portrayed as one of the most lovable video game characters ever, but could there be a darker subtext to the character we're not picking up on? Kirby may look like Dreamland's biggest hero, but if you really think about it, we see him swallowing up many of its residents as well as other creatures from different planets. Could it be that Kirby is simply a relentless eating machine that poses a bigger threat than whatever enemy he's fighting? So we do admit that Kirby does sometimes tend to, eat first and ask questions later. That said, we have a hard time believing that this puffball contains any malicious intent. Kirby clearly allies himself with many characters throughout the games, which he doesn't devour. Most, if not all, enemies Kirby does swallow are ones that clearly mean him harm and will cause it to him if Kirby isn't careful. We will say that if Kirby ever did switch to the dark side, the end result would leave Popstar in a lot worse shape than it's in now. Especially when you consider that there do exist many multicolored Kirbys. Because of that, we don't think there's any legitimacy to this claim. Master Hand was originally a Kirby character. Many people know that the Super Smash Bros. And Kirby series are both led creatively by the same man, Masahiro Sakurai. As such, a few of the creative decisions found in the Smash series can be traced back to Kirby originally. One is that of the main antagonists in the Smash series, Master Hand and Crazy Hand. These floating disembodied hands often appear as bosses in the Smash series, usually as final confrontations. Master Hand is the only boss to appear in every Smash Bros. Game, but some people have speculated that his first appearance actually was on the Super Nintendo. In Kirby Superstar, the titular puffball comes across a boss named Wham Bam Rock. While this character's face appears in the background, he attacks through the use of his rock hands. These hands share similar attacks to Master Hand, including walking across the stage and flicking Kirby as well as grabbing the player and crushing them. Is it possible that Master Hand is the hand of Wham Bam Rock? We do only see Master Hand as a glove, so it's possible that beneath he may actually be a bunch of rocks? We're putting this in the BS category for a few reasons though. Wham Bam Rock's hands have similar attacks to Master Hand and Crazy Hand, but there are differences, with the hands from the Smash series having a wider array of attacks. They are also much more powerful than Wham Bam Rock, who wasn't really the hardest boss. The real situation that debunks this theory though is how Master Hand and Crazy Hand appear as enemies themselves in Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. Here we see no sign of Wham Bam Rock's face, which more or less confirms them to be separate entities. Moving on from the BS, these theories still have a lot of problems, not enough to say that they're completely debunked, but still, these theories are full of holes. Kirby's mouth is a portal to another dimension. Many fans have come up with theories regarding how Kirby's able to eat enemies larger than him while remaining the same size. Obviously, Kirby's digestive system is unique, but could it actually be sending Kirby's feasts to another galaxy? Beyond eating enemies, Kirby also swallows food, drinks, even random objects such as blocks. Kirby's a pretty small guy, so where does it all go? We personally consider this theory unlikely for a few reasons. For the most part, Kirby can only swallow one or two enemies at a time for his copy abilities. Whenever he either rids himself of his copy ability or it gets knocked out of him, the ability usually ejects itself from Kirby's body in the form of a star. This proves that while Kirby eats a lot, he's not bottomless and sometimes needs to make room for other enemies. Also, if either the food or enemies were simply being transported to another dimension, we don't understand how it could have physical effects on Kirby's body. Kirby's digestive system does make for an interesting topic of discussion, but we don't believe this theory is giving us the right answer as to how it works. Dark matter exists in both the Kirby and Metroid games. The main overarching enemy in the Kirby games is dark matter, a species of parasites who often pose a threat to both Popstar and other planets in Kirby's galaxy. Some fans have speculated that dark matter are actually comprised of the same substance as Phazon in the Metroid games. We do definitely have some evidence to suggest that the Kirby games and Metroid games take place in the same universe. This is due to Samus and Metroids making cameo appearances on a stage in Kirby's Dream Land 3, as well as Kirby finding the screw attack while traversing through the Great Cave Offensive in Kirby Superstar. Many people have gone further to suggest that the phase-on substance that Samus encounters in the Metroid Prime trilogy shares too many similarities with dark matter for it to be a coincidence. In actuality, there really only seem to be two major things linking dark matter and phase-on together. They both are somewhat intangible and have the ability to possess whomever comes in contact with them. In our opinion, those two traits are pretty general and not enough to definitively prove nor even suggest that this theory is true. With that said, we're now into the middle category, where we may stumble onto some truth. Maybe. These theories are possible. Kirby is a different protagonist every time. We do know for sure that Kirby is indeed a character who's part of a species. This is how there can exist many different colors of Kirbys, such as blue, yellow, red, white, etc. The main Kirby adventures always seem to follow a pink Kirby who appears to be the main character. However, is this a different Kirby every time, or the same hero throughout every game? Some fans seem to theorize the former. Let's examine the evidence. We will admit where we think there is one case where this theory is absolutely true, that being the original Kirby's Dream Land. Not only is this Kirby portrayed as white in the game's artwork, but he also can't copy enemy abilities, unlike every other interpretation of Kirby. The rest of the games that star pink Kirby, on the other hand, we believe to be the same protagonist. This is because Kirby often has an established history with characters, such as King Dedede and Meta Knight, neither of which would make sense if this were a separate Kirby. Then again, both King Dedede and Meta Knight walk the line between being allies or enemies, so it's possible that their attitudes change depending on which Kirby they encounter. We do think that there is some evidence to suggest the legitimacy of this theory, but not enough to propel it above this middle category. Kirby and the Amazing Mirror is a metaphor. One of the most unique games in Kirby's platformer catalog is Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. While many other Kirby games feature a lot of secrets to find, they're usually hidden within linear levels. This game turned the format of Kirby into a Metroidvania-style adventure, featuring branching pathways for the player to explore. On top of that, some fans have speculated that the plot for Amazing Mirror is deeper and more metaphorical than other Kirby adventures. For those unaware, the story of this game follows Meta Knight randomly attacking Kirby and splitting him into 4 entities before thrusting them into the Mirror World. After traversing through Mirror World and collecting pieces of the Amazing Mirror to return to Dreamland, Kirby faces off with Meta Knight, who turns out to be Dark Meta Knight in disguise. Defeating Dark Meta Knight reveals his true form, Dark Mind, the mastermind behind the whole situation. The ways in which these events unfolded have led fans to speculate that the game actually has a subtle message about uncovering hidden truths and exposing liars in their true forms. We really like this theory, but we're putting it in the middle because no one seems to be able to tell us what real-life event, if any, this metaphor pertains to. We're not sure if it qualifies as a metaphor so much as it is a theme for the game's story. All things considered, though, it's a very strong theme. These next conspiracies make a lot of sense. In fact, we think they're more likely to be true than not. These theories are probable. Meta Knight is an older Kirby. One of the most prominent yet mysterious characters in the Kirby series is Meta Knight. On top of switching between being Kirby's friend and enemy, Meta Knight's past remains mysterious, naturally leaving fans to fill in the blanks. Many fans will point out how on the few occasions where Meta Knight is unmasked, his body does seem to be a black Kirby with yellow eyes. Unmasked Meta Knight even appears as an alternate costume for Kirby in certain Smash Bros. Games, which, in our eyes, is Sakurai indirectly confirming this to be true. Further speculations have led us to wonder how and why this Kirby became Meta Knight. Some believe this is because Kirby is younger and therefore experimenting with many different copy abilities. Meta Knight realized at some point that he was best with a sword and thus stuck to being a sword fighter rather than constantly changing abilities. Others say that Meta Knight is testing Kirby to follow in his footsteps and become the next sword fighter once Meta Knight is gone. Either or both of these theories are more than possible, even if they aren't confirmed to be true. Maybe it's time we had a Meta Knight solo game delving into his backstory. Kirby was born from dark matter. While we're on the topic of Kirby species, let's talk about a theory that explains its origins by returning once again to a theory regarding dark matter. Even though Kirby appears to be dark matter's biggest threat, some fans have theorized that Kirby may have been one of them in a past life. There are a few things that point to this being true. One is that dark matter often possesses its enemies in order to attack through their bodies. This is both similar and a bit different from how Kirby eats his enemies and steals their powers. Beyond this vague similarity, Kirby also finds one of the dark matter entities closely resembles himself when he fights the core of the Void Termina and Kirby Star allies. Lastly, it has been established that dark matter can sometimes die and be reborn as friendlier entities, which is exactly what led to Gooey's existence. There are some gaps in this theory, such as how Kirby was even reborn from dark matter in the first place, but there's enough here for us to consider this theory to be more likely than not. Finally, we've reached the truth! Confirmed truth! People have blown the whistle on these theories with such compelling evidence that they must be true, or a creator gave confirmation. These theories, or in this case, this theory, is the truth bomb. Shiver Star is post-apocalyptic Earth. In Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards, Kirby and his cohort travel to 7 different planets in order to take down dark matter. One planet in particular stands out for closely resembling our very own third rock from the sun. Shiver Star may be lacking the blue and green colors that can be observed by looking at the Earth, Earth, but it does appear to have a similar geographical structure as well as a lone moon. On top of that, the levels found within Shiverstar may resemble many areas you would find on our home planet, including a factory and a shopping mall. These similarities do raise some eyebrows, but we have to wonder what happened to Earth if this theory is true. Many have speculated that Earth experienced a nuclear war resulting in the planet being completely frozen over as a result of nuclear winter. That does seem to make sense to us. The only part of this theory that doesn't add up is why and how Earth moved from our own solar system into Kirby's solar system. We're not saying it's impossible, as Kirby and friends have ventured through many galaxies before, but it does make us wonder what led to that event. Though we personally feel that there is enough evidence here to consider this a truth bomb. What about you? Have you heard any crazy Kirby theories? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you need a one-up, make sure to hit that notification bell and binge our other Kirby videos. Thanks for watching!